So good. So, good evening. Just had to go in party so the drivers wouldn't get disturbed there. Good evening, welcome to BRL for round number 3 for the Chinese Grand Prix. Then we are at, for whatever reason, I believe that's Nico's name isn't appearing on the screen, not sure why that is, but that is Nico, who's on a lap then at China, your last race winner in BRL, round number 2 at Imola. So, yeah, round number 3, then we are at, obviously, the Chinese Grand Prix. As, well, first let's see what Nico, is that? Oh no, that's Cold Steel. Where's Nico, actually? That's a good point. I do wonder, have I accidentally forgotten Nico? So, yeah, just in case I've forgotten Nico, I can always spam him a quick invite. I do have him added. Pretty sure I did spam him an invite, either way. But yeah, Cold Steel is on a lap then. Here at, obviously, the Chinese Grand Prix. Just want to make sure everything is right. Every other thing is right in terms of settings, which is all good. So Storms goes quickest for now. For round, well, 3 at the moment. In terms of the championship, I'll just go, obviously, through that. In terms of the drivers' standings. And we'll go through the team standings too. So, currently, team standings, I think we'll go through that first. Currently, Aston Martin lead the way with 82 points. They hold a 32-point advantage over the Haas F1 team. Then it's Red Bull in third with 43. And then it's McLaren in fourth with 36. Followed by RB in fifth with 22. And Williams also on 22 as well. So those are your team standings at the moment. In terms of drivers' standings, currently it is Hazard at the top of the championship standings with a 43-point, not advantage, with a 4-point advantage, but with 43 points. Then it is Joshi, sorry, not Joshi, Jayton, who I don't think is once again here tonight, or not here today, with 38 points. Then it's San in fourth with, obviously, 38 points. So a good chance for San maybe to take championship lead tonight. Then it's Robsu in third. Then it's Bazbrains in... Robsu in fifth. Then it's Bazbrains in sixth. Braden is in seventh, followed by Deckley 8th. And Chiaku is in ninth, followed by Drogon in... or Dragon in then 10th at the moment. So those are the top 10 in the drivers and obviously in your constructors at the moment. Obviously, right now Stormzo is well, leading the championship. Pole prediction, I'm probably going to say obviously, gonna go say Storms. Obviously Storms probably should be maybe borderline tier 1, I'm just going to say, in terms of pace. So he's going to be my pole prediction for tonight. And obviously Hazard, yeah, I presume that's you, Hazard, Harry. So that's why you're saying mentioned. Well, of course you're going to be mentioned because you're top of the standings. Jesus. That is a joke. So... apparently Nico is in, so just want to make sure. Cool, that is good to know. So long everyone is all here and everyone is all good, then we are quids in. So, yeah, 9 minutes 55 then seconds remain on the clock then here. In, obviously, Tier 2 at China. So let's see what Baz Brains has got then. I don't think he's on a quick lap. Let's go through to see who is on a quick lap. Maybe CJ Drama is. So CJ Drama does maybe appear to be on a little bit of a quick lap. Does seem to be using up his ERS battery power pack. So through then turns 7 and 8, long sweeping right-handers. Car looking like it just wanted to kick out a bit there. So certainly sliding around on him at the rear certainly won't be the ideal way to get around this track, but it's a 52.5 for the middle sector, so that's pretty decent. We are into the 31.7s at the moment, but that's a very big rear end snap then out of turn number 13, which sets you up for this long back straight, which is a very crucial straight, especially around China. Obviously, you don't want to be having a bad exit at 13 for this long straight into the hairpin then, or 14, and then exiting on 15 and into the final corner of turn 16 then here, and rounds up, keeps it within the track limits. And what lap time this is going to be? It's going to be a 33.4, puts him up into 8th. We've already got a few drivers who are already out of qualifying, so those drivers aren't going to set a lap. Deckley, Alton and Cold Steel. Drivers are going to obviously, unfortunately, have to start from the positions they're in, with Cold Steel probably starting last here. So I think Chiaku has just begun his second lap. Let's see what the Alpine driver Chiaku can do. So exiting turn number 2. So he's 10th up for first sector, which is pretty good as he heads into turn 4, 5, and then up the hill into 6 and 7 and 8. So riding on board then with the Alpine, looking pretty smooth as he heads then into the double left-hand of 9 and 10, as he heads into then turn 11 and 5 thousandths up on his own personal best through the middle sector into 12, a little bit out wide over the curb. Certainly again another way of affecting your run out of this turn 13, which is so key and fundamental to get right on your lap. So DRS wide open, helping him out with just a little bit of extra straight line speed. Braking then around the 100 meter board, just after the 150 into 14. Flick it in then, keep it within the track limits. And what lap time this is going to be? It's going to be a 10th improvement, but not enough to see him go obviously any further up the order. So here is Strooms then for obviously Ferrari tonight, and into the final corner he comes. Let's see what lap time he's got within him. He's currently about 2 tenths up in the middle, goes 3 tenths faster on a 1:31.4, so puts about 6 tenths and over half a second of daylight between himself and the rest of the field. So here's Joshi Wilco then. Let's see what he's got. Bit of a car on the inside there of, I believe that had been either Dragon or San. San might actually be on a hot lap himself. I do wonder whether Dragon's just trying to set up a little bit of a tow here for his teammate, because obviously he probably realising that his teammate is getting close to him, so I'd wonder whether that was all part of the plan there. Not entirely sure. Obviously that long straight is probably worth a bit of a tow if you can get one. At least maybe provide you a tenth or two. Let's see what San's doing. He's 4 tenths up. So Joshi Wilco did improve. San is going to improve by even more. Goes 6 tenths quicker and into the 131.9s. So he's the second driver to breach the 131 barrier, or sub 32s. Then here in qualifying so far. Let's see what Dragon then can do. Obviously, his teammate provided him a tow. Obviously, Dragon did, to his teammate of San. Not sure San is going to be able to do the same because they're going to be catching each other at different parts of the lap unless San can remain quick enough ahead to, obviously, in that long straight, give himself his teammate a tow. But in the end, I don't think it's going to matter now because that mistake has obviously cost then him the lap. There is obviously, I think it's Nico then. And he's gone up into 9th, your last race winner. And obviously, I'm pretty sure he'll want a good race tonight once again. Obviously, he's also in the shout of maybe moving himself up the championship table tonight if he can have a good result. So, potential of himself moving into first place. There is. So, we're entering the final phase then of qualifying. 3.5 minutes to go. CGA Drama has retired from the session. Got sound back. So, is Dr. Braden on a lap? He is. He's finishing 1 off. Slides a little bit around the final corner. And comes across the line. 2 tenths up though in the end on his own time, so doesn't improve. Remains P6 for now. So currently that's the grid order. Who can maybe challenge the Ferrari of Storms for pole position tonight, if anyone? So just waiting on drivers. Some drivers do outlaps. Cherku's on one now. Bazbrains is also on one. So Bazbrains is going to be one of the first top 5 at least to set a lap then here. Potentially within a shout of pole. Depending on what lap time he can do. Of course, he is though 6 tenths down on the best lap, so does have quite the gap to make up on Storms here then in this final part of qualifying. So does everyone else though. So let's see what he can do. So exiting the final corner now as he starts then his final push lap in qualifying. What can he deliver for the McLaren team? So heads through turns 1. Car nicely poised through there as he heads then downhill into turn 2. No moments to really talk you through there, so looks all good at least out of the first 2 corners. No dramatic moments, and it is good. 2 tenths up, so that's roughly where he needs to be each of the sectors, about 2 tenths if he wants to challenge obviously Storms for pole. So that's a great start to the lap at least. Let's see how this middle sector comes along. So again, car looked a little bit out of shape there. Looked like the rig got slightly away from him, but it's still looking very neat and tidy, and it's still improving by about 2 tenths. So almost now 3 tenths up. So how can he then go even faster? Obviously, have a great exit from turn 13 might help. So it takes a little bit of a shorter run, trying to reduce that obviously drag to the line, or down the back straight, trying to take a line of least rolling resistance into then turn 14. Only got a couple corners to go. then here. And it's gone out wide, and unfortunately for him, he's invalidated. So that is very unfortunate for then, obviously, himself. Chiaku, let's see how he's coming along. Storms is deciding to remain in the pit, so isn't going again. He feels pretty comfortable with that 1:31.4 being about over half a second clear. So Chiaku is going around the final corner now. Potential of for him to jump up into the top 6 here. Let's see if he does. Yes, he does. And that is going to be him then, so long as CDR Nerf Pack doesn't go any quicker. Starting at least on the front row. Now, obviously can watch Dragon, but I am going to... Well, yeah, I am going to watch Dragon because he's 3.5 tenths up, so he's improving. Can he maybe get ahead of Joshi Wilco, who obviously is looking to maybe get into the top 3 or even higher if he can. Obviously, we know Baz Brains has done his lap and it obviously got invalidated, which was a real hard shame for him, but Dragon does go faster. Here comes San then to the line. Is he going to go faster? No, doesn't improve his time. So it's only Joshi Wilco left who can potentially move himself up the order then here in qualifying. Baz Brains crosses the line but doesn't go faster, of course. And I think Joshi Wilco did improve. Did he get higher up the order? Yes, he did. He's moved himself back up into 4th, but of course will not start inside the top 3. So that's a bit of a unfortunate one for him, only missing out by 900ths of a second. So it is Storms then over 5 tenths clear on pole position from Baz Brains in 2nd. Then 3rd comes Joshi Wilco. 4th is third is Baz Brains. Joshi Wilco 4th. Then Dragon is in 5th. Chiriku is in 6th. Then Braden is in 7th. Ivo Spawn 8th. Then CJ Drama in 9th. Nico 10th, then CDR Nerf Pack is in 11th, then it's Deckley 12th, 13th we've got Alton, 14th Soft, and then 15th we've got Cold still at the back of the grid in 15th. So those are your drivers, and that's how they line up for today's Grand Prix. Then, and I believe it's a 27 or 29 lap race we've got coming for you tonight. So it looks like a dry one as well, which obviously for our drivers will be a bit of a relief in some sense. I guess it's dry. Obviously, wet weather isn't necessarily everyone's favourite sort of weather in this game necessarily. So we'll now get into the race, and it'll be soon lights out and away we go, or you know, whatever you want to call it, eyes to the lights. I do like that saying actually. So here we go then. 5 red lights are coming on. The drivers will have their eyes obviously set on them, and it's then race underway. Go, go, go for the Chinese Grand Prix. Walker effect as we head into turn 1. Storms untroubled, but who is troubled? It's obviously San and Joshi Wilco coming together. Joshi Wilco tangling himself around then there, hitting obviously a few cars in the process and tumbling to the back of the grid, but San's still under a bit of pressure from Baz Brains heading down into 4, as we see also Dr. Braden looking to go down the inside of 2 cars. In the end, had to pull out. Nico's already up into 5th. Make it 4th if he can get... oh no, don't make it 4th, but make it 5th at least. Still, but yeah, he is obviously on the back, actually, of CJ Drama. So he's made up plenty of places. And he is also on the hard tyre, which, of course, will be beneficiary to him. So there's the pit stop predictions. You either go in, obviously, hard mediums or medium hards, of course. As San then is being overtaken around the outside. Bazbrain's going the long way round into turn number 13. Almost coming together. I don't think they did make contact there, but they did make contact there down the straight. Most definitely a little bit of contact between the two. And who's going to be later on the brakes? In the end, I think Bazbrain is a bit too far ahead as we get to the corner for, obviously, San to come back at, obviously, the McLaren. But at the end of that one, it's your race leader, Storms, with a 2.4 second advantage and is pulling off into the distance, leaving the rest of them in his wake then to follow. So, Bazbrain's in second, San third, fourth is CJ Drummer, fifth is then Nico, then sixth Jiaku, then seventh is Dr. Braden, followed by eighth is Ivo Spawn, but might not be for longer because it is Deckley trying to make a move then here on Ivo Spawn. Deckley trying to go around the outside into turn 2. Little bit of contact potentially between the two of them. Coming together just one or two times. Nothing too serious. But down into turn 4, it's the McLaren with the inside line. And it's the McLaren ahead as they get to the exit of the corner. In the background, it's Drogon going up the inside at turn number 7. As they go into 8. And that's Ivo Spawn now down into 10th. As Cold Stills has a little bit of a look up the inside, but you're not probably going to make a move there into that corner. As we see Ivo Spawn go off the track. Then in the background, Ivo Spawn, BGR still just having a look up the inside there into turn number 11 and 12. As they now exit turn 13. So, back onto then this battle for 8th. Drogon overtakes Deckley as Deckley comes back up the inside. Unfortunately for him, ghosts for whatever reason there a little bit, for probably a bit of contact or whatever, I don't know why that was, but yeah, obviously that certainly probably lost him the position. So BGR Cold Still now will try and chase down the McLaren for 9th place if he can get the McLaren driver. So, how is things looking? Obviously, one thing to note, obviously Storms is on the medium compound, so therefore he will stop sooner than the rest of the field. He's most definitely going to stop sooner. That could explain his early pace. So for obviously Bazbrains and for obviously San, it's probably not really time to panic too much. But in another sense, you probably would also want to try and keep up with the race leader too. But yeah, he's going through a different strategy out front clearly. I do wonder whether he could be trying a 2-stop potentially, even though I think a 2-stop would be a bit too much. Nico then on CGA Drama, your last race winner, is about to make the pass then for 4th place. And that is going to be Nico up the inside if he can get the move done. Better on the brakes and is cleanly ahead of the Williams. And now the Williams coming under a bit of pressure from behind from the other American of Jiaku. Both two American drivers, both following each other quite closely. As now, well, Nico gonna get overtaken. Chiaku goes down the inside of his American rival. Then into turn number 1, it is going to be Nico on the outside. And Nico then still holding on for that 5th place a little bit. But now he's almost coming under threat from Dr. Braden in terms of being overtaken. Doesn't get overtaken there. He doesn't. So holds on to then 6th place whilst still losing a position or two. Someone went off the track. I think that was Dragon. Yeah, went very far off the track and rejoins a bit, obviously, well, in an awkward position. Not necessarily dangerously. Obviously, might get reported to the stewards. I'm not too sure of that later. But yeah, Drogon obviously kind of still impeded the Ferrari as he came back onto the track. Probably couldn't necessarily help that entirely, because a bit awkward in terms of how you'd rejoin at that corner. Which currently is a 4-car fight. Then in the background got another 4 or 5-car fight for the battle down to 11th. So, or basically battle for basically 8th at the moment. So, yeah, 2 good battles going on out there. And needless to say, got a little bit of a battle for still second place on the cards here. But at the moment, Bazbrains is pulling away from San a bit more. So, lap then 5 of 28. Chiaku is right now ahead of Nico, but behind CJ Drama in this battle for 4th, followed by, well, the 3 of them, Dr. Braden. And Dr. Braden also looking very raceable tonight. He's certainly looking like he's got a good turn of pace within that Red Bull. Obviously, Red Bull haven't had too many points this season overall, but maybe they can get a good few points tonight. Of course, really with Red Bull, they've been sort of fighting a little bit with one hand tied behind their back this season in BRL. Obviously, only one driver turning up each week, so probably hasn't helped them out that much in the constructors' fight, of course. Of course, I do expect also probably points to be caught a little bit tonight to Aston Martin, but Aston Martin do have a 32-point advantage into the championship, so I'm pretty sure they won't be too dismayed by that. Obviously, they'll be still looking both very much at future events in terms of where they can score strongly in the future, Hazard and Nico, in terms of their championship chances. Obviously, yeah, 10 rounds, I believe the season is. So, Dr. Braden down the inside on Nico. Beautiful dive bomb. I think Nico weren't expecting it. I don't think, in fact, Dr. Braden was expecting it, but Nico almost, I think, forced Dr. Braden off the track there. And Dr. Braden just about okay, but he certainly did have a moment, and very fortunate not into the barriers there at turn number 6 and 7. So, lost a little bit of time, of course, to the top 4, but he will claw that back, I'm pretty sure, pretty soon. As now we've got, obviously, Drogon and Joshi also catching this group. So, I wouldn't, well, say they're going to be too much further behind in a short while. They'll probably be back onto this battle for 4th right now. As we see then, Chiaku looking to go around the outside. Drama's deep, and this is going to allow Chiaku to go on through. Does it allow Nico the chance also to get through here? Nico's going to go for it around the outside. Nico slightly off the track. Drama makes a slight error in trying to hold on to the position, but did Nico unfairly gain the position? I think he probably did for going off the track then there. So technically probably should hand the position back to his rival, but of course he has still kept it, and now for himself, if he was to hand that position back, of course would lose at least 2 positions. However, you could also say Drama being off the track at the corner previously, well, probably should have came back on, I don't know, behind, obviously, Nico, considering they were level pegging. So, it's probably about a 50-50 on that one, you could argue. Still, nonetheless, we've got a great battle here going on for 4th place still. We've got basically, well, every driver down to, well, 10th effectively. So a 6-car battle in the Knicks for 4th place. Right now it is Chiaku currently leading that charge. Then I do wonder why Nico isn't using his DRS down that back straight. Obviously, does he have obviously a issue? But I do wonder, could that be the case if Nico has some sort of mechanical sort of system error on his car? Because he hasn't been using DRS hardly at all. Everyone else has been using DRS. That's a bit strange. It's just like he doesn't want to use the DRS or something, and he's happy just to sit there behind without it, of course. However, that's certainly not going to be helping him in the overtaking of his rivals. But he's still up there in 5th place. Obviously currently leading Dr. Braden at the moment in this battle. So, lap then 8 of then 28, so 8 laps down, 20 to go. Right now, the gap to the leader, 3.6 seconds. Now, interestingly to note, Storms hasn't exactly disappeared on the mediums now, and in fact, it looks like Bazbrains is starting to claw back the time he was losing. San is also lost quite a considerable amount of time. He's 6 seconds further behind P2 now, as Chiaku has still, well, remained in P4. It is now Dr. Braden up into 5th, and this is what I mean. I don't understand why Nico isn't using DRS, because he is within the DRS of everyone, and you can see everyone else is using the DRS on their cars. This is almost like active self-sabotage to some extent, which I hope obviously Nico does realise he does have DRS, you know, so use it, if you know what I mean. Why aren't you using your DRS? That would certainly help him maybe overtake, and who knows, also maybe defend against the drivers he's battling with. So Dr. Braden looking in a really good form here, and is looking like he probably be moving himself up into 4th for the first time in this race. Then, if he can get a good exit out of this corner, which I don't necessarily know if he has, he's about 7/10 behind coming out of turn 13. Now, is he close enough to make the pass up into turn 14? Nico is certainly going to try and make the pass on, obviously, Dr. Braden, but again, not using the DRS, which, as you can see, doesn't help. And by the time we get to turn 14, not really near enough to be making the pass, but he's got a good exit out of 14. Can he get a good exit out of then turn 16? Then there, I don't think he's close enough once again, but I tell you who is close enough. It's Drogon going down the inside, and that is Drogon then up the inside. But Nico's going to come back at him, and Nico's going to hold on then to the position, and Nico still then remains in P6, but not making his life easy through not using that DRS, as I've previously said. And a little bit of gaps have actually opened up there now. Joshy, Wilco and Deckley fallen a little bit off these 4 here then in the battle for 4th. A CDR Nerf Pack then has retired, and it's a safety car. Now, that is obviously great timing for Storms, terrible timing for the hard runners, because Storms can now just come into pits and put on a set of hards, and he'll probably easily be able to make it to the end. I think the others probably could put on mediums and make it to the end here, but their tyre wear is going to be very, very significant come the end of this race. So, yeah, it's not great timing for the hard runners, but it is absolutely bang on the money, a bullseye type timing for the Ferrari driver Storms. As we can see, darts off into the pit lane. What do the rest do? Is anyone going to stay out? Thing is, for obviously Storms as well, he is going to come out in a very good position here, at least P1 or P2, and it is probably going to be P2. So the Ferrari driver is certainly going to be in a good position. As we see, a few are continuing on. However, that's probably a bit in vain, you'd have to say. Now, Storms didn't get actually out in P2, comes out in P3. It's still a very good position, nonetheless. Is though going to be behind two cars. I'm pretty sure he would have probably liked to at least got ahead of then Baz Brains, but I do wonder why, not Baz Brains, Dr. Braden, but I do wonder why Dr. Braden did get ahead, because I thought basically it'd be half of the pit lane. Must be a bigger pit lane loss than I thought, but it was quite close, I suppose, on the exit. So, then 11 safety car probably be out for another lap, I'm going to say. The field still is yet to catch up to the back of the pack fully. So yeah, probably looking at another lap of safety car. So safety car is then in this lap then, and it is going to be San restarting this race. But who went off the track there? I think it might have been Drogon. I'm going to dare say. Did he go off the track? Did he abstain any damage? I'm not positive on that. If he did or he didn't. Anyway, San is going to restart this race then in first place. Now, the only thing for San is going to be very much a target alongside Dr. Braden in these opening few laps. So, San restarting then this race as we get going then. Back on lap 12 of the Grand Prix. San gets away well and clears off about 5 tenths into the distance, but both San and Dr. Braden already going wide. Now here comes Storms on those fresher, harder tyres, and is going to already pick off one of the two cars that are ahead of him and chose to stay out. Is obviously Bazbrain's going to go through as well? By the looks of it, the answer is yes. But it is still then, obviously, Braden still trying to hold on with him there in that fight for third. So how quickly can Storms get back up into the lead? And also, how much of a threat is Bazbrain's going to be for the rest of this race? If he can, obviously, be a threat. But already, it is Storms going down the inside, trying probably a little bit too much risk there, making contact with the Haas driver, and obviously for Storms, then that almost could have been absolute disaster for himself. And though it's that type of sort of moves, you kind of got to be a bit patient with. I know he's got, obviously, Bazbrains on the back of him, which is going to put him under increased pressure. But here we go then, Storms going for the move. Obviously does have to watch Bazbrains in the background. Sort of moves a little bit before, obviously, Bazbrains went for it. But Bazbrains is still going for it, and he's going around the outside, going to get it done. And he's got the move perfected, and that is then Bazbrains up into the race lead ahead of Storms, who has led pretty much majority of this race. So Bazbrains is the new race leader for, obviously, the first time. Drogon is now looking at the inside of then Dr. Braden. However, these drivers also do have to stop. Our two leaders don't, and the cars behind them also don't. Obviously, that's the thing. Are they waiting on a safety car, or are they trying to get to the softs? I'm not entirely sure what their game plan is from here, because they are going to lose significantly more time than the two cars that have stopped ahead, and then the cars that have stopped behind. When they come out, most definitely they're almost near enough dead certain to come out back into this race last place, but of course there's no guarantee like they'll be able to make up and claw back the time. So we'll have to obviously see. So is Drogon close enough to Braden? Yes, he is. Obviously, Braden doesn't have DRS, and it's a relatively straightforward, simple move to go down the inside there with the DRS. And Bazbrain sets the new fastest lap. Storms is hanging on very nicely, though, to the back of Bazbrains. Storms kept it and has kept it within about half a second, so obviously Bazbrains isn't pulling away enough to sort of build himself a gap and a buffer. For obviously the two Hasses, though, another thing I should mention is the fact that they have both committed themselves to this strategy. So if it fails for one, it will fail most definitely for the other. And also the other thing that the two Hasses have got now as a bit of an issue, obviously, is the fact they are third and fourth. Now, the reason that's an issue, obviously it's okay, obviously, for the pair of them in the order that they would be if they were both on fresher tyres, but it's very crucial probably at this stage of a race where if basically one chooses to come in now and the drivers also behind choose to come in, effectively the other is either going to have to come in and wait whilst the other one changes their tyres, or basically the other is just going to have to go for another lap. And endure being undercut effectively now. So which one is going to decide to either peel off into the pits as San goes wide again? Now he does that probably one or two more times. He's going to pick up a 3-second penalty. So does need to be very careful on the track limits there, because can't keep affording to run wide. That's at least, well, 2 times within the last 5 laps as we watch the battle for 3rd and 4th at the moment play out. Nico's starting to now make his way through the field, and so is Deckley as they are recovering their races, and so is Chiaku. Also, he's onto the back of the Hasses now. So both Hasses coming under threat, obviously, from Chiaku, the Alpine. And Chiaku, I'll tell you what, could be on for a podium here. He hasn't really had too many podiums this season, so this would be a first podium, at least for himself, this season, as Storms has taken the lead of the Grand Prix. So he's certainly probably going to get overtaken again. Him 2 out front, probably going to keep swapping positions as well, especially in the beginning phase of his stint, I would have thought. Anyway, it is Chiaku, DRS wide open for both of them though. So is that going to be enough for, obviously, Drogon to defend? No, it's not, because Chiaku's going to go down the inside, fresher tyres, and able just to be that bit better on the brakes, and is now up into 4th place. And the next position will be for the podium position, as Deckley has now obviously got past Nico. And Nico again having a great drive. And I'll tell you what, for Nico, if he can finish ahead of San today, he will move up into the championship lead, which I'm not sure if he's ever led a championship in a league before, but certainly going to be the first time he's led the championship in BRL, and he is going to be quite comfortable at the top of the standings if he can, convert this result. At the moment, looking good for maybe a P5 or a P4. That's where he is looking at. Maybe there's a podium on the cards. I'm not quite sure. So some drivers have obviously come into the pits. San obviously is being undercut then by Drogon, Braden, Joshy, Wilco, and Orton. Not so much by Orton, but certainly by Drogon and Braden, and of course Joshy Wilco. So I imagine obviously San will be in this lap then. So down the back straight, obviously no DRS for the Haas, but DRS is going to be active for the Alpine, and you can see how much that DRS is effective. And on the brakes, who's going to be ahead as they go into turn 14? In fact, San gets a better exit, but San, is he coming into the pits? Yes, he is. And Chiaku obviously can now go through. As we see then Deckley fight out with Nico. Nico now starting to use his DRS, doing something he didn't like doing in the first half of this race. Finally, he's found the DRS activation button, which, yeah, had he used that maybe a little bit earlier on in the race, I don't know. He probably could have, been a lot further up the field, I believe, by now. That's at least my opinion. So we got Balfour at least 4th and 5th. Where did obviously San come out? And he came out ahead of Joshy just about. But you can see how much of a gap then he's lost. He's lost about 4 seconds, 5 seconds to his teammate. So a lot of time. And I'm not really convinced this has been the right strategy by the drivers that chose to stop later. They've lost about 20 seconds. Their tyres are only 6 laps effectively younger. In the case of San, it's only 7 laps younger effectively. So not really much of an offset. There is an offset there, but have got 20 seconds to make up. I'm not sure that's doable necessarily. That's at least my opinion, as Bazbrains and Storms fight out for first. Right now, Storm's hanging on quite nicely, neutralising the threat very, very well. As Buzzbrains are now chases down Chiaku, currently sitting on the podium. But Chiaku does, not Chiaku, sorry, Deckley does have a penalty to go along with that if he does get overtaken. A little bit of contact between the two, but it is Deckley going to make it a McLaren second and third, then a double podium at the moment for McLaren, at least as things stand. Let's have a quick look at penalties. So 6 seconds for Deckley, so he would have to clear 6 seconds off into the distance if he wants to keep that position, which I'm not sure for himself is doable, but we'll have to see. Obviously, late threats may come from Drogon. I'm thinking Drogon does look like he's got good pace, actually, relatively to the other cars that are on that strategy. We'll also keep an eye on, obviously, others, but yeah, Drogon is gaining a bit. He's got the gap roughly down to about 15 seconds now. So 10 laps to go. Does need probably about over a second a lap. Needs probably about 2 seconds a lap. But anyway, here comes Nico, your last race winner, looking for a podium, potentially, as Nico in the end not really brave enough on the brake set to get the position done and remains in 5th place behind Chiaku. So Chiaku got the DRS, gonna overtake the McLaren and takes back the podium. However, Deckley trying to hold it around the inside, a little bit off the circuit, a little bit of contact again into turn 1 between Deckley and the McLaren and the Alpine. As Nico now is going to potentially be able to get then P4 here, if he can be just a little bit brave on the brakes. Is he going to try and hold on? No, in the end, Deckley just had the inside line, and with that inside line, able to keep his car ahead of the Aston Martin driver for now. So lap 20 of 28. Now, the gap is to Drogon about 13 seconds, so still with 9 laps to go, needs over, well, if my maths is good, would need about over 1.5 seconds per lap. Does have a bit of traffic though to get through, starting with, of course, Ivo Spawn, as we can see, but he is within the DRS range, so is he close enough on this lap to get past straight away into turn 14? He is closing, but not close enough in terms of to make the pass, and that's a bit of a moment for then Drogon, which is going to cost him time to the back of Ivo Spawn. And you tell you what, how crucial will that be come the end of the race, especially if he can get onto the back of these drivers. He's at least lost another opportunity to go on and to make that pass. So once again, Deckley closing back up onto Chiaku. Now, the important thing for Chiaku and also Nico here is to not trip over the McLaren and also not to pick up, therefore, a penalty. And, well, for Chiaku, that's especially important because he's in the driving seat here, probably. You'd have to conclude on taking the podium. And if he can, that'd be great for him. I think he actually has had a podium this season, tell a lie. I think he's at least had 1 podium. So yeah, obviously I think he has had 1 podium. Let me just double check that fact. I want to make sure I give you accurate information. Now, has Deckley made a mistake? I think he made a tiny mistake, and that allows Nico to slip on by. But it is going to be Deckley with the DRS, and, well, both of them got DRS actually there. Deckley kind of win a little bit haywire and win out wide. So I just want to check, has Deckley, no, not Deckley, has Nico been on the podium this season? Let's have a quick look. So, not Nico, has Chiaku, meant to say. So, round 1, finished in 7th. Where did he finish? Round 2. So no, hasn't been on the podium this season. Then, so this would be his first podium of the season. Also, for Storms, it would probably be the win that he should have got last time out in Imola, because he was pretty dominant for the most part of Imola. It was up to that final part where he couldn't convert it. Right now, he's looking on course for the win here, but thing is, well, in the last stint, at least for the McLaren, it was about this point where the hard started to become good and the mediums started to drop off. Haven't actually noticed that as of yet. And now, actually, another significant update in this battle for the third is, well, they've dropped Deckley. Now, how big that is very big, because having dropped now Deckley just gives them a bit of comfort. Also, Dragon is not really catching. So for Nico, I think, whilst I said Chiaku was in the driving seat here, however, I feel like the tables have turned a little bit. Because if you're Nico, you know the worst result you're going to get today is 4th at this rate. You're looking very, very comfortable for a P4. It's Chiaku now with the pressure. Also, you know you're going to go to the top of the standings after this race, given the finishing positions. If you're Nico, you know that is going to happen, given Hazard obviously isn't here, so he's obviously busy elsewhere doing something else. So given that, this is what I mean, is it Hazard's podium to lose? It just might be. Let's see if he can take back-to-back podiums in 2 races in a row. And I'll tell you what a drive from Nico if he does get this podium again. Took the win in brilliant style. Is he going to take a P3 in similar sort of fashion? Yes, he's nowhere really near the 2 leaders today in terms of the outright pace. They're 16.5 seconds clear up the road, but is certainly in a good position. And it could come down to the last lap between these two. Probably is going to come down to the last lap. In terms of Drogon, hasn't really made any sort of impact, and nor has the other drivers really. I think it's been very underwhelming what these drivers have done today. Like, no hard feelings or disrespect to them. I mean, they gave it their all, but in the end, made the very much the wrong strategic call, I feel, today. Okay, Drogon is now within 10 seconds, but he would need, with 5 laps to go, about 2 seconds per lap, which I just don't see happening. It really, really probably isn't going to happen. Still got to overtake Drama, Cold Steel, and Deckley just to get up into the fight for the podium. And is that going to happen? I just don't think it is. As we see Nico and obviously Chiaku still fight then side by side into the hairpin. Nico does want to be a little bit careful of track limits, especially at that final corner, because He is slightly, just slightly going a little bit wide at times. And, you know, I don't know how many times you can get away with that. I'm not sure if that's a little bit of a bug, maybe, or exploitation, because it seems like a few drivers been going wide, not really picking up any penalties there tonight. I haven't seen, but there have been obviously some penalties, obviously, because Deckley's got penalties, Drama has, so has either Spawn and Sofan Alton. So we're into the final few laps then of the race, still 4/10 between the top two. However, that top two is virtually remaining stationary at the moment. Haven't really seen any change in that order as we go into then the hairpin on 14. And I do wonder, like, Basrain's just came out there, so gonna quickly focus on the battle. So yeah, he just came out there of the DRS slipstream and then just didn't really go for it, lifted off the throttle, I've noticed. So I do wonder, is he trying to tactically play this? Is he letting Storms pull him along, and does he feel or fancy a late lap charge, maybe? I'm not entirely sure. The only thing, by the time we do get to lap 28, you know, I fear Storms might just be saving something equally just as much, because I feel like the hards should have at least become the better tyre by now, and Storms should have at least now be starting to pull away a little bit more, especially through these corners, as we can see. So I do wonder what's going on there, why Storms isn't pulling away from, obviously, Basbrains. 6/10 on this lap, so a bit of a bigger gap compared to the previous few laps. It's been hovering around 4/10, now it's up to about 7/10. So is he just nurturing the tyres and trying to not put too much stress into them, because he knows Basbrain's tyres are going to go off, so he'll naturally pull out the gap anyway? Maybe that is his mindset. Again, Basbrain's had a little bit of a look down the inside, but in the end didn't go for it. This time I think he was legitimately a bit too far back, probably to make the dive there. So Nico back up into the podium with obviously one lap to go. Now for Nico, he does need to make this pass tactically, I feel, on the last lap. So does he let, obviously, well, Chiaku back pass, and does he just sit behind, obviously, Chiaku for a lap? Both these two are pretty much on, I'd say, an even footing. There is absolutely no advantage one way or the other here. The only thing is Deckley starting to come back at them, and if Deckley gets back within the DRS range, we know he's probably not going to hold back. He's probably not concerned whether or not the two cars ahead are fighting for the podium, I don't think. Which, to be honest, sometimes I don't really like drivers doing that. Obviously, when you got penalties, especially time penalties, 6 seconds, you're probably not going to have 6 seconds removed. Probably not, dare I say. But, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that sort of, you know, stuff, if you know what I mean. That's just me personally. You know, I prefer usually to see drivers with penalties just to respect the battle in front and to not get involved and sort of like accept the position that they're currently in, if that makes sense. Like, because yeah, if you got time penalties, especially 3 seconds, usually 90% of the time it's fair, or 99% of the time it's fair. Anyway, second to last lap, and Nico has managed to stay behind, so he hasn't gone for the overtake. Now, I think it's crucial he doesn't go for the overtake here. Does he remain behind and sat stationary? And we are now on to the last lap. If he goes for the overtake here into turn 1, I just don't think this is the right move. And he has sat stationary, so he's certainly listening in to the comms and taking my word of advice. And now it's just about staying close enough, stay within about that half a second range, and then use up all your battery on that long DRS straight, because there won't be enough time to come back at you. For Bazbrains though, he's actually managed to stay within great range of, obviously, Storms here. And surely a late lap dive, if he's close enough, coming out of the corner is going to be on the cards for Storms. He hasn't used up much of his battery, but has got a brilliant exit then out of then turn 13. And I think Nico's just left the session. What an absolute shame, travesty for Nico, because that has probably ended his chances of podium. And he's just allowed Chiaku to take the podium. What a travesty for Nico there. As Storms, nonetheless, going to win in China. Takes a victory, didn't take in Imola. Storms wins the Chinese Grand Prix from Bazbrains by just under half a second. It is going to be Chiaku in P3, taking his first podium of the season. Then it's going to be Deckley. Well, it's going to be Cold Steel after Chiaku. Actually, Deckley, does he come home? I think might be behind Nico. He is behind Nico. Drogon manages to get, obviously, 5th due to Nico's, out of the race. Deckley comes home in 7th. Then it is Joshi Wilco in 8th. Then it's Braden 9th. San in 10th. CG Drama in 11th. Ivo Spawn comes home in 12th. And then we're just waiting on Soph and Alton to come home and finish their races. But yeah, great disappointment for Nico there. I think he will anyhow go to the top of the standings over, obviously, San. As Deckley has left the session early. So might get put down as a DNF. I'm not really too sure, but we know he's finished in what you call it. Well, it won't put down as a DNF. Just remember, Deckley behind Nico in 7th, I suppose. So yeah, Alton finishing the race now, and he has finished. So decent race, not bad, pretty decent racing all around. Great disappointment for, obviously, Nico, and, well, still, one man's loss is another man's treasure, as they say. And it is, obviously, Storms taking the victory in BRL by under 3/10, or 4/10 it was, and picks up the trophy. So I'll go through the race results. So it is Storms in first, Bazbrains in second, then it's Chiaku taking the first podium for himself also this season. Cold Steel's a great drive from 15th up into 4th, then it's obviously Drogon in 5th. Nico comes home in 6th ahead of, obviously, Deckley. Then it would be Joshi Wilco in 8th, Braden in 9th, San 10th, Drama in 11th, Ivo Spawn is in 12th, then it's Soph in 13th, Alton in 14th, Deckley would obviously be in 7th, and then it is CDR Nerf Pack in 15th, and the only DNF of today. In terms of my driver of the day, I'm probably going to say BGR Cold Steel. Brilliant drive from 15th up into 4th. Just missing out on the podium himself as well. So yeah, good drive from him. Also Chiaku, great drive as well. So good drives from them two. And until then, round 4, see you then for another round of BRL.